Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Myth Busting Mondays. And in today's episode, for the final myth, we're going to be seeing if whether or not that you can hide behind a street pole and have the boomer's vomit not affect you. Are we able to do Looney Tunes logic within Left 4 Dead? I don't know, let's find out. If you guys have been enjoying today's video, please make sure you drop a like. And comment down below if you have a myth of your own that you'd like to have be featured in next week's episode. But yeah, guys, I hope you end up enjoying this week's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: if a tank falls on top of a survivor, will it kill them? Alrighty, guys, so for the very first myth of the episode, this is going to be submitted in by Tyler. So Dan is a tank on the top of the Last Stand lighthouse, and he's going to fall on my head any moment now. And as you guys can see, when he lands on top of me, all I get is screen shake. Here is Dan's POV from what you saw moments ago, and when Dan ends up jumping off the Last Stand lighthouse to fall on my head, he also too gets a massive amount of screen shake, but that is all. So that's going to end up meaning that myth number 1 of today's episode is going to be busted. A tank will not kill you if he lands on top of your head. Myth: will common infected stop spawning after a certain period of time without turning off the Dark Carnival carousel? Okay guys, so myth number 2 is submitted in by Azure Productions. Now, this is going to end up being just a myth where we have to wait things out. We will just turn on the panic event or the crescendo event and just wait for a certain period of time. I think a realistic sense of time is going to end up being 5 minutes, because if it's anything beyond 5 minutes, without God mode, we would have probably died by then if we didn't deactivate the horde, or at least end up ending it and getting into the safe room. So I think 5 minutes is fair. So if something doesn't end up happening within 5 minutes and the zombies just keep spawning infinitely, I think it's safe to say that it's busted. So what we decided to do is we activated no clip and just hovered around the map while we just ended up waiting for about 5 minutes or so. We also had super fast motion on just to see if there was a timeout feature where eventually infected did just stop spawning. Like maybe, for example, the director just can't spawn as many infected as it wants to at once, so it has to do them in batches. But eventually, after a certain period of time and things not really seeming like they're going to slow down anytime soon, we just decide to call it. So because of the fact that we don't want to wait forever, I'm going to call this myth at busted. I just think that the event is unlimited time and you can't wait it out. Myth: can you ride the carousel on Dark Carnival? Okay guys, myth 3 is submitted in by Nitwit, and we are once again returning to the carousel on Dark Carnival. Now this question's pretty straightforward. Can you ride it? So me and Dan are going to activate no clip when the merry-go-round or the carousel is active and just see if whether or not that still keeps going. So here we go, we're turning on the event now, and we're going to activate no clip. So I'm activating currently my menu, and so is Dan, and as you guys can end up seeing, as soon as we get in here, something interesting happens. The entire machine stops. But as soon as we're out of the machine, it's going again. So it's not intangible like I thought it was. It actually does react to players, even though they would never expect you to get in here without cheating. So I'm kind of shocked to say this, but myth 3 is busted. You actually can't ride it. It just freezes as soon as you step into it with no clip, and then moves again when you get out. Myth: will the witch eventually stop chasing you if she is not able to catch you? Alrighty guys, myth 4 is submitted in by Glabursko. Now this is a myth that has the same logic behind myth 2, where it's about how long can we wait this out. Now to give ourselves the best possible odds, I did the following. I put the witch's movement speed on slow. I made it so that way I was running around in a circle in third person, so that way I could constantly see her chase me. Dan is floating above me with no clip on and constantly giving me adrenaline shots to use. So that way I'm also faster than the witch already, in addition to the fact that she's slower than my base speed. Now keep in mind is that if this was a real life game and you couldn't enable all of these things in your favor, it's very unlikely that anything would happen in your advantage. Now I think that it's reasonable to a certain degree you can trick the witch's AI, because I have seen things such as, for example, the wrong person gets killed when she gets pissed off, and also eventually she will just sometimes get stuck and have her AI bug out, and then she will just run away. So there is a possibility here, it's not entirely busted just based off of the concept. However though, with that being said, if we're not trying to do any fancy tricks and trying to trick the AI, and all we're just trying to do is see if whether or not that we can outrun the AI, then I would like to believe, personally, after waiting about another 5 minutes or so, where if this was a real life game we would have been long since dead, I think that it's busted. I don't think that just simply outrunning the witch is enough to get her to leave you alone. I think you need to do things such as trick the AI or do something more fancy, which is a completely different myth then in its own right. So I think, just in the simplest sense, if you're just trying to see if you can just wait the witch out, Globbersko, the myth is busted. Alrighty guys, final myth time. The final myth is once again going to be, if you stand behind a street pole or a light pole, will the boomer's vomit effect not affect you? Can we perform Looney Tunes logic and have it where the thinnest of surfaces or the thinnest of objects keep us safe? So let's switch over to the final myth now and see what happens. Myth. Can you stand behind a light pole and be protected from a boomer while it's vomiting? Alrighty guys, so the final myth is going to be submitted in by one of my best friends, Dan. Now here we go. This is going to end up being one of the most wackiest myths we've had in a while. We're going to have Dan stand behind a light pole or a street pole while I put a boomer on the other side. We're going to have him vomit and see if whether or not that Dan will end up being vomited on, or if he'll by some logic be protected. Alrighty guys, so here goes the final myth. The only thing basically stopping the boomer from touching Dan is a possible light pole. So let's watch and see what happens. Alright, hey, what do you know? Looney Tunes logic is apparently a valid option because that 100% worked. And here's the same thing from my perspective, and as you guys can see, plain as day, Dan is protected from the vomit effect. Now, also in addition to showing that this does work, I also want to show you guys situations in where it doesn't quite work. So here's going to end up being a couple of examples. If the boomer is too far away and the vomit has a chance to spread around the pole, it will still hit you. And if the boomer is exploded, instead of just vomiting, that will also hit you. Alrighty guys, so that means that the final myth of today's episode is confirmed. If you get the right circumstances, you can hide behind a street pole or a light pole and have the boomer's vomit not affect you. Alrighty guys, so that is going to be here for today's episode of Myth Busting Mondays, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. And if you have a myth of your own that you would like to have be featured in next week's episodes, please put in the comment section down below. By the way, guys, as we wrap up here, I also want to mention really quickly that on June the 5th, later in this next coming few weeks, there is going to be the 100th episode of Myth Busting Mondays. For episode 100 of Myth Busting Mondays, I want to do something very special, and I need your guys' help. In the comments down below, from any episode from now up until then, you can end up submitting your craziest myths yet. All I ask is just that somewhere in your comment, please put the hashtag MythBustingMondays episode 100. That way I can easily find it by looking it up. I do acknowledge the fact that on the YouTube side of things, that this can be considered as spam by YouTube and then therefore get blocked. However, though, it just ends up in my spam folder. So I still do see every single comment that uses said hashtag. So if you guys want to submit something, please still use the same hashtag. And if you're genuinely concerned that it will not be found, you can also put them in my Discord server, which will be linked down below in the description. Also, by the way, since we're about to hit 4,000 subscribers any day now, and I'm planning on doing Japanese Left 4 Dead 2 for 4,000 subscribers, if you guys want to, once we hit 4,000, I can also start including Japanese Left 4 Dead 2 myths in Myth Busting Mondays. So if you guys want to end up having that also be a thing, make sure you guys subscribe so we can hit 4K and we can make Japanese content. Alrighty guys, with all that being said though, I do hope you guys end up enjoying this episode. And if you did, one last time, please make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. But I hope you guys end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video for the most unique YouTubers are ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey meme lords, Jesus here, and you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too, and give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!
Okay, just tell me if you write it. No! The fuck?
It actually stops moving.
What?
It stopped
that don't
moving.
Make sense.
That doesn't. Why the fuck? How fat is Coach's ass? It stops the whole machine. How heavy are you, motherfucker? Wait, hold on. I'm gonna Google really quickly how heavy a merry-go-round is on average to see how heavy it would have to be to stop this.
Go round on average.
How heavy is Coach?
It's 400 fucking pounds. A large merry-go-round is 1,041 pounds.